Cześć, jestem Koen, and today I'm going to review the entry of Poland at Eurovision 2023, Blanka with the song Solo. Poland used the national final again to pick the Eurovision entry this year, called Tu bije serce Europy. There was a big fan favorite, Gladiator by Jan, but Blanka with Solo was already the most streamed entry of this national final before the show took place. Alicia won the Polish national final in 2020 with the song Empires, but did not get to perform on the Eurovision stage because the 2020 contest was cancelled and she was not internally reselected. Also competed in the national final this year with her song New Home, but ended up on the 6th place, making her the third Eurovision 2020 artist to try to represent her country again but failed to do so. The national final was kind of a big mess. Blanka's victory was seen as a rigged win because she did not sing well live, and the juries did not read their votes from a paper but heard their votes from their in-ears. One of the jurors, Edita Koniak, who represented Poland in 1994 and ended on the 2nd place with Tonia, also said this in an Instagram comment, that the votes were given to her by the production team. I mean, it makes sense. Someone with vocals like this wouldn't give such votes to someone with live vocals like Blanka.
With you I lost my senses.
Anyway, Blanka won in the end, and Jan ended up on the 2nd place. The Polish Eurovision fans were not amused, to say the least. Online, they claim that Blanka is a puppet of the Polish broadcaster TVP, a broadcaster owned by the government, and how she represents corruption in Poland. Later, some Polish Eurovision fans also pointed out that Blanka liked an Instagram comment that called Jan homophobic slurs, saying that Blanka deserved to win more than he did. Basically, every social media post made by the official Eurovision Song Contest accounts are filled with comments from Polish Eurovision fans asking people not to vote for Poland, and also with lots of hate comments towards Blanka. I think both Blanka and Riley could be the most hated Eurovision entrants of this year at least. I think Poland's national final might have been the most chaotic one so far, at least this year. From Booty by Alena, I mean, look at the performance, the lyrics, the lack of stage presence, the shaky vocals, the almost not shaky booty. I mean, look at the dress, the fringes are barely moving. It's so bad, it's basically iconic again. And then on to the corrupt win drama. It was a mess. I think it's a shame a national final turned out like this. Like, if TVP wanted Blanka to represent Poland at Eurovision, why didn't they just go for an internal selection instead of organizing a whole national final to rig? I mean, she obviously wasn't the best performer of the national final. She was far from that. So obviously it's going to be very weird or suspicious if she does win. I personally think Jan was definitely a better choice. Sure, his vocals weren't always the greatest either, but they were definitely not as bad as Blanka's vocals, and he definitely had a better performance than Blanka did, and a much more original song than Solo. I also think it would have been nice if Alicia won the Polish national final, since she was meant to represent Poland in 2020 and wasn't eternally reselected to go to Eurovision 2021. Instead, Rafał was picked internally, who was also seen as a puppet of the Polish broadcaster. He did not get as much hate as Blanka is getting now though, which I think is pretty remarkable, but I also think that might have something to do with the fact that there wasn't a whole national final organized, and he, as far as I know, did not like any homophobic comments or did anything homophobic. I mean, he even performed in a gay bar, so there is a bit of a difference between the two. Anyway, I hope Alicia will try again in the future and manage to go to Eurovision someday. Also, I'm not defending the hate towards Blanka, because she is getting a lot of stuff thrown at her, but I do get the frustration with Blanka's win. As far as I know, she didn't rig the show herself, but since she is seen as a puppet of the Polish broadcaster, it is pretty obvious that if there was someone the show was going to be rigged for, it was going to be her. But still, I don't think you should rig a show to make someone win. Just internally select someone then. That's what I think. But okay, choices. Also, I don't get how after liking a homophobic comment, you would make a TikTok like this.
How can I be gay? My bitch is homophobic.
Yeah, choices. I think Solo as a song itself is okay, but the live performance is just not good at all. I haven't seen any performance by Blanka where I'm like, she performs well. Like every time I've heard her sing, she does not really sound great. Like the national final performance doesn't sound good, and any other performance I've seen by Blanka doesn't really sound that good either. And the whole thing does indeed smell like corruption, which is a shame, I think. Also, the liking of the homophobic comment towards Jan is very disappointing to say the least. I think it's especially weird to do that when you're participating in a contest which is known for its huge LGBTQI+ fan base. But again, the song Solo itself is an okay radio song, I guess. It's kind of inoffensive and not really original, but fine, I guess. One thing about the lyrics that bothers me though is the part where she sings, "So let me spell it out, I'm going solo, solo." Like, she is not spelling anything out. You could easily make that, "So let me spell it out, I'm going SOLO." It fits the lyrics, it fits the music. You're literally talking about spelling something out and you're not spelling it out. Why? Anyway, small pet peeve, I guess. Not to speak of the baby meme. Look, like I said, Solo is a fine, inoffensive, radio-friendly song. But performance and staging are also a big part of Eurovision. And since Blanka's vocals, of what I've seen until now, have never been that great, I don't think Poland has a good chance of qualifying this year. Despite being in the second semifinal, which is the already weak one, I still don't really see that happening. The fact that Poland is behind Greece in the running order could be sort of an advantage for Poland, but not big enough for them to qualify. Just to maybe, just maybe, be a higher placing non-qualifier than they would have been with a different running order spot. You know what I mean? Plus, Slovenia is behind Poland in the running order, and Slovenia is definitely going to overshadow Poland. Also, the karaoke version of Solo that's officially released by the EBU is almost half a minute longer than the studio version of Solo that's released now, with something that sounds like a sort of a dance break part added to it. So I'm curious to see how that will work out on stage, since Blanka's vocals already don't really sound good without a dance break in the performance, but I guess we'll see. You know, the semifinals are only decided by televoters this year, and I feel like televoters don't always look that critically at live vocals, but the live vocals of Blanka are very obviously not qualifying worthy, so I think even the televoters will not vote for this. So to conclude, I don't really like the Polish entry this year. I do think Gladiator by Jan would have been a better choice, and I don't really get why the Polish broadcaster would rig a national final, because it does look like that, when they also could have just internally selected Blanka and just spared everyone this controversy and drama, because it really does seem like riggery. I don't think Poland will qualify this year, despite being in the weak semi-final out of the two this year, since Blanka's live performances have not really been good until now, vocally speaking. And that's about all for now. What do you think of Solo? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully until next time, do widzenia!